Everyone in town thought Maya was the perfect wife, gentle, loyal, and impossibly devoted. What they didn't know was that perfection was the most carefully rehearsed role of her life. Maya woke before the alarm, as she always did. Morning light slipped through the curtains and rested softly on her face, the kind of light that made everything look honest. She lay still for a moment, listening to Daniel's breathing beside her. Slow, steady, secure. This was the sound of stability, the sound she had chosen. She turned carefully, brushing a hand across his arm. Wait, subscribe now to support this channel. It means a lot to us. As we continue. Daniel, she whispered. You'll be late again today? He blinked awake and smiled at her. That same tired but affectionate smile that had won her over years ago. Quarterly review. You know how it is. She nodded, already swinging her legs off the bed. I'll make your coffee stronger today. In the kitchen, Maya moved with practiced ease. She hummed softly as she worked, setting the table, slicing fruit, packing Daniel's lunch. Anyone watching would have seen devotion in motion. Daniel leaned against the doorway, adjusting his tie. I don't know what I did to deserve you, he said. She smiled without looking up. You married me. She smiled without looking up. You married me. For the electricity bill, he said. She tucked it away. Drive safely. The door closed behind him, and the apartment fell silent. Maya stood still, counting to 5. When she reached 3, her phone buzzed. Miss you already. When will I see you again? Raj. Her lips curved into a different smile, one that never appeared in front of Daniel. She locked the screen and leaned against the counter, letting the quiet stretch. 2 lives required precise timing, and Maya was excellent with time. By noon, she was on a bus headed out of the city, sunglasses hiding her eyes. Her clothes changed with her destination, less polished, softer, warmer. The apartment she arrived at was smaller, louder, and always smelled faintly of oil and metal. Raj opened the door before she knocked. Maya, he said, pulling her into a hug. I missed you, she replied, and this time the words were true. Raj's world was different. He talked with his hands, laughed too loudly, dreamed too openly. Over lunch, he showed her sketches of the garage he wanted to open someday. One day, he said, eyes shining, I'll have my own place, no more answering to anyone. She reached across the table and squeezed his hand. You will. I believe in you. He looked at her with pure gratitude, the kind that came from believing someone had chosen you despite loss. He believed she was a widow. He believed she had already suffered enough to deserve happiness. That evening, as they lay side by side, Raj traced circles on her arm. Sometimes I feel guilty, he said quietly. About what? Taking your help. I should be the one taking care of you. She turned toward him, eyes soft. We take care of each other. Later, on the ride back, Maya watched the city lights blur past the window. Her phone vibrated again, this time with a message from Daniel asking what she wanted for dinner tomorrow. She typed a reply without hesitation. Anything you choose. At home, she placed Raj's message and Daniel's envelope in the same drawer. Order mattered. Lies survived on organization. That night, Maya stood in front of the mirror, removing her makeup. She studied her reflection carefully. With Daniel, she was calm and dependable. With Raj, she was warm and inspiring. Neither version was false. That was the most dangerous part. She slid into bed just as Daniel returned, exhausted. Long day? She asked. The longest, he sighed, pulling her close. She rested her head on his chest, listening again to that steady rhythm. As sleep claimed them both, Maya stared into the darkness, her mind already planning schedules, explanations, transfers. 2 men, 2 homes, 2 truths that could never meet. and for now she believed she could keep them apart forever. Every lie needs money to stay alive, and Maya had learned that love was easiest to borrow when it came wrapped in concern. The first time Maya asked Daniel for money, she rehearsed the words in her head long before she spoke them. She waited until dinner was done, until the plates were cleared and the television murmured softly in the background. Daniel was relaxed then, his guard down, his mind drifting away from numbers and reports. She sat beside him, legs folded neatly, fingers worrying the edge of her sleeve. "Daniel," she said softly. He glanced at her. My cousin called today." That was all it took. Daniel muted the television and turned toward her fully. "Is everything okay?" She hesitated just long enough to look worried but not dramatic. "She's struggling. The shop she opened last year, it's not doing well. Rent is overdue." And she sounded so scared. Daniel frowned. "That's unfortunate." "I know it's not our responsibility," Maya added quickly. "I told her that, but she doesn't have anyone else to turn to." Daniel leaned back thinking, how much does she need? Maya named a small amount, modest enough to sound reasonable. "I'll transfer it tomorrow," he said without suspicion. "You should help family when you can." Relief washed over her face, genuine relief mixed with something darker. "Thank you," she whispered. The next morning, she sent the money to Raj. Raj stared at the phone screen like it might disappear if he blinked. "Maya, this is too much," he said when she arrived later that day. "It's not," she replied, sitting across from him in the small workshop he rented. "It's an investment." He laughed nervously. "An investment in what?" "In you." He shook his head in disbelief. "I don't deserve this." "You deserve everything you're working for," she said, meaning it in that moment. The lies grew the way small cracks do, quietly, invisibly, until the structure depended on them. A month later, Maya mentioned a hospital bill. Another month, a loan request. Daniel never questioned her. He trusted the way she looked at him when she spoke, the steadiness in her voice. One evening, as Daniel signed into his banking app, he joked, "At this rate, your cousin will owe me shares in her business." Maya laughed, leaning over to kiss his cheek. "She'll pay it back someday," she said, already knowing she never would. With Raj, the story was different. She framed every contribution as sacrifice. "I've been cutting back," she told him once, handing him an envelope of cash. "You shouldn't," he protested. "I want to," she replied. "I believe in your dream." He kissed her hands, eyes full of admiration. "When this garage opens," he promised, "you'll never have to worry again." Somewhere between the transfers and the promises, Maya began to feel the strain. Her phone buzzed constantly, Daniel asking about dinner, Raj asking when she'd visit again. She kept calendars, color-coded and precise. One city on weekdays, another on weekends. She memorized stories, adjusted her tone, switched perfumes. One night, Daniel noticed her rubbing her temples. "You've been tired lately," he said. "It's nothing," she replied quickly. "You should rest more." She smiled. "I will." The next day, Raj noticed the same thing. "You look exhausted," he said. "Just thinking too much," she answered. "About what?" "The future," she said, and both men believed her. Maya told herself she wasn't cruel. She wasn't stealing. She was redistributing stability. Daniel had more than enough. Raj had nothing but hope. And she was the bridge between them, the balance. Still, some nights, lying beside Daniel, she felt a weight in her chest that no planning could lift. Other nights, with Raj, she felt a flicker of fear beneath the excitement. Two loves pulled at her in different directions, and she stretched herself thinner to hold both. By the end of the year, Raj's garage was no longer a dream. It had a name painted unevenly on the wall, tools lining the shelves, customers beginning to come. He hugged her the day the first car rolled in. "I couldn't have done this without you," he said. Maya smiled, proud and terrified all at once, because every step forward for him meant another lie she'd have to tell. And every lie she told Daniel came easier than the last. She stood in the doorway that evening, watching Raj work, oil on his hands, joy on his face. Her phone vibrated in her pocket. A message from Daniel, transfer sent. "Hope it helps your cousin." Maya closed her eyes for a brief second. Every lie needs money to stay alive, and hers had never been richer. Daniel noticed the first crack on a Thursday evening, the kind of ordinary night that usually passed without memory. Maya was in the bathroom longer than usual, the shower running, steam fogging the mirror. He sat on the edge of the bed scrolling through emails, half listening to the water. When she finally emerged, wrapped in a towel, she smelled different. Not bad, just unfamiliar. "Did you change your soap?" he asked casually. Maya froze for a fraction of a second, then smiled. "Yes, I thought I'd try something new." Daniel nodded, accepting the answer, but the question stayed with him longer than it should have. He told himself he was tired. Numbers did that to you. They made patterns where there were none. Over the next weeks, the small things began to add up. Withdrawals he didn't remember authorizing. A credit alert for a transfer he hadn't discussed. When he asked gently, Maya always had an explanation ready. "It's the hospital bill I mentioned. The rent was increased suddenly." She was crying, "Daniel, what could I do?" Each answer was delivered with the same steady tone, the same concerned eyes. Daniel wanted to believe her, and so he did. Still, he started checking their accounts more often, lingering over figures he once trusted without thought. One night, while folding laundry, he found a receipt in Maya's pocket. A cafe bill from across the city, dated on a weekend she claimed to have stayed home sick. He stared at it longer than necessary, then placed it back exactly where he'd found it. Across town, Raj felt the cracks differently. They arrived as questions that refused to stay silent. Why did Maya never let him walk her to the bus? Why did she silence her phone when she was with him? Why were weekends always rushed, time borrowed instead of shared? One evening, as they sat in the garage after closing, Raj finally spoke. "Maya," he said, wiping his hands on a rag, "why can't I meet anyone from your life?" She stiffened. "I told you, my family wouldn't understand." "Understand what?" "Us." He leaned against the workbench, studying her face. "It feels like you're hiding me." She shook her head quickly. "I'm protecting you." "From who?" "From pain," she said, and the words sounded practiced. Raj didn't push further, but the doubt stayed. It crept in when he was alone, when the garage lights were off and the echoes of the day faded. He loved her, but love didn't explain everything. The breaking point came unexpectedly. A customer mentioned seeing Maya in another city, laughing with a well-dressed man. Raj laughed it off at first. Cities were big. Faces repeated themselves. Still, the comment followed him home. That same night, Daniel watched Maya dress carefully for a supposed visit to her aunt. She chose her clothes with unusual precision, applied perfume she rarely used at home. "You look nice," he said. "It's been a while since I saw her," Maya replied. "She likes when I make an effort." When she left, Daniel didn't return to the couch. He stood by the window, watching her disappear down the street. Something tightened in his chest. Without fully deciding to, he grabbed his keys. He followed at a distance, heart pounding, feeling foolish and determined all at once. He told himself he just wanted reassurance, that once he saw her aunt's house, he'd turn back. Maya never went there. Daniel watched her enter a cafe across town, hesitation giving way to disbelief. He parked and sat in the car, hands gripping the steering wheel. For several minutes, he didn't move. Then he stepped out and walked closer, stopping just short of the window. Inside, Maya sat across from another man. They leaned toward each other, close enough to share secrets. Daniel couldn't hear the words, but he saw the familiarity in their gestures. The way she touched her hair, the way she smiled. He stepped back before they noticed him, breath shallow, mind racing. He didn't confront her. Not yet. He returned home and waited. Meanwhile, Raj received a call that same evening. A mutual friend, awkward and apologetic, told him what he'd seen. "I didn't think it was my place," the friend said, "but I'd want to know." Raj thanked him and ended the call, staring at the darkened garage. When Maya arrived later, cheerful and tired, Raj watched her differently. "Long day?" he asked. "Yes," she replied easily. "With your aunt." She nodded. "She sends her love." Raj didn't smile. "Maya," he said slowly, "is there something you're not telling me?" Her eyes flickered. "Why would you ask that?" "Because people talk." She reached for his hand. "People always talk." For the first time, Raj pulled away. The silence between them grew heavy, unfamiliar. Back at home, Daniel lay awake beside Maya, staring at the ceiling. She slept peacefully, unaware that the mirror she'd relied on was finally cracking. He replayed the scene in the cafe over and over, each repetition sharpening the truth he didn't want to face. In the following days, both men began to notice things they had once ignored. Daniel tracked schedules, compared dates. Raj asked questions he'd never dared to before. Maya felt it, the subtle shift in the air, the way conversations paused a second too long. She responded by tightening her control. More explanations, more affection, more careful timing. She told herself this was just a phase, that doubt could be smoothed over like everything else. But cracks don't disappear when you look away. They spread. One evening, standing alone in the bathroom, Maya stared at her reflection. For the first time, the woman in the mirror looked back at her with something close to accusation. She turned off the light and walked away, convinced that if she didn't see it, it couldn't see her. She was wrong. Maya woke that morning with a tightness in her chest she couldn't explain away. Her calendar said nothing unusual: lunch with Raj, dinner at home with Daniel, the usual careful stitching of two lives. Still, her hands trembled slightly as she brushed her hair. She told herself it was just fatigue. It had to be. Daniel watched her from the doorway as she prepared to leave. "You're going out?" he asked, keeping his voice even. "Yes," she said. "Just a short visit. I'll be back before evening." "With your aunt?" She met his eyes without hesitation. "Of course." She met his eyes without hesitation. "Of course." Maya arrived at the cafe early. She chose a corner table, one she liked because it felt private even in public. She checked her phone. No messages from Daniel, one from Raj saying he was nearby. She exhaled slowly, smoothing her dress. Control. She needed control. Raj arrived a few minutes later, his smile hesitant. "You sounded urgent," he said as he sat. "I just wanted to see you," Maya replied. He studied her face. "Something's wrong." She reached across the table. "Nothing we can't handle," she said. "Together." "Nothing we can't handle," she said. "Together." "Maya," he said quietly. "Who is that?" She turned. Daniel stood a few steps away, disbelief hardening into something colder. For a moment, none of them spoke. The cafe's background noise seemed to fade, leaving only the sound of blood rushing in Maya's ears. "Daniel," she whispered. He walked closer, eyes never leaving her face. "So this is your aunt," he said. Raj stood abruptly, chair scraping against the floor. "You know him?" Daniel's jaw tightened. "I'm her husband." The word landed like a blow. Raj laughed once, sharp and humorless. "That's not funny." "It's not a joke," Daniel replied. "We're married. 5 years. Raj turned to Maya, his voice rising. "Tell him he's lying." She opened her mouth, but no sound came out. Silence stretched, heavy and suffocating. "You told me you were a widow," Raj said slowly. Maya's eyes filled with tears. And you told me you were visiting family, Daniel said. How long? She stood, hands shaking. Please, she said, voice breaking. Let me explain. Raj stepped back as if she tried to touch him. Explain what? That you played us both. I never meant. Daniel cut her off. How long, Maya? She looked between them, seeing the same question reflected in both faces. There was no version of the truth that spared her now. 2 years, she whispered. Raj staggered back into his chair. 2 years, he repeated. Every promise, every plan. Daniel's hands curled into fists. Every transfer. Maya sobbed openly now. I loved you both, she said desperately. In different ways. Daniel gave me safety. Raj gave me hope. I didn't want to choose. So you chose to lie, Daniel said. So you chose to steal, Raj added. It wasn't like that, she pleaded. I was helping. I thought I could manage it. I thought. You thought you were smarter than everyone, Raj snapped. You thought we were fools. Daniel laughed bitterly. You used my money, he said. All those withdrawals, the loans, they were for him. Raj's head snapped up. What money? Daniel turned to him. Every rupee you used to build that garage came from me. Raj stared at Maya as if seeing her for the first time. Is that true? She couldn't answer. Her silence was enough. He pushed away from the table and stood, breathing hard. I thanked you, he said hoarsely. I promised to take care of you. I thought you believed in me. I did, she cried. You believed in what I could build with another man's money. Other patrons were staring now, whispers rippling through the cafe. Maya barely noticed. Her world had narrowed to the 2 men she'd tried to keep separate, now united in their anger. Daniel straightened his jacket, his voice eerily calm. We're done, he said. Daniel, please. No, he said firmly. I won't listen to another word. Raj shook his head, eyes glassy. You destroyed everything, he said to her. My dream, my trust. He turned toward the door, then paused. If you ever cared about me, he said, don't follow. He left without looking back. Maya reached out instinctively, then froze. Daniel was watching her, his expression empty. I want a divorce, he said, and I want every transaction accounted for. She nodded weakly. You won't get another chance to explain, he added. You've used them all. You won't get another chance to explain, he added. You've used them all. She stayed there long after the tears dried, staring at the empty seat across from her. The lies that once protected her now circled like vultures, waiting for what little remained. For the first time since it all began, Maya was truly alone. Maya didn't remember how she left the cafe. She only remembered walking, past streets she'd memorized for convenience, past shops where she'd once laughed with Raj, past intersections Daniel used to complain about during rush hour. The city felt unfamiliar now, as if it had shifted slightly out of alignment, leaving her stranded in a place that looked the same but no longer belonged to her. When she reached home, the apartment was dark. Daniel wasn't there. His absence was louder than any argument they'd ever had. She sat on the edge of the couch, staring at the door, half expecting him to return and tell her it had all been a misunderstanding. He didn't. The night passed without sleep. Every sound made her flinch. At dawn, her phone buzzed. A message from Daniel's lawyer. Short, precise, final. She didn't cry this time. The tears felt used up. By midday, she went to the garage. Raj was there, but the place felt different, quieter, heavier. The sign with the garage's name hung crookedly, one corner loose. He stood by the workbench, not looking at her when she entered. I told you not to follow, he said. I just wanted to explain, Maya replied, voice thin. He laughed without humor. Explain what? That my dream was built on a lie. I never meant to hurt you. You didn't mean to stop either. She stepped closer. I loved you. He finally looked at her, eyes tired and distant. Love doesn't take and pretend it's giving. He reached into his pocket and placed the garage keys on the bench between them. I'm done, he said. I can't work here anymore. Every bolt reminds me of where it came from. You're throwing it all away, she whispered. No, he replied. You already did. She picked up the keys after he left. They felt heavier than metal should. She placed them back down, understanding that some things couldn't be returned, only abandoned. The weeks that followed stripped her life down piece by piece. Daniel moved out formally, taking his clothes, his books, the framed photos from their trips. The apartment echoed after he left, rooms too large for one person. The bank froze accounts pending investigation. Friends stopped calling. Some had heard. Others didn't want to ask. Maya tried to hold on to routines. She cooked meals she couldn't finish. She folded laundry that didn't need folding. At night, she lay awake replaying conversations, searching for the moment she could have chosen differently. There were too many. One afternoon, she stood in front of the mirror again. The woman looking back at her seemed smaller somehow, as if the weight of maintaining two identities had been the only thing keeping her upright. Without it, she slouched. She remembered the first lie she'd told, how harmless it had felt, how necessary. She remembered convincing herself that love justified everything, that no one would really lose. She had been wrong about that. She had been wrong about most things. Months passed. The divorce finalized quietly. Daniel never asked to see her. His silence hurt more than anger would have. She learned through mutual acquaintances that Raj had left the city. The garage shuttered soon after. The unevenly painted name was removed, leaving a pale outline on the wall like a ghost of ambition. Maya downsized, moving into a smaller apartment where memories didn't have as much space to echo. She took a job that paid less but required little explanation. People there didn't know her past. They saw only what she showed them now. A quiet woman, efficient, reserved. One evening, after work, she found herself walking without direction again. Her feet carried her somewhere familiar before her mind caught up. The cafe. She hesitated at the door, then went inside. The same bell rang. Different faces filled the room. She chose the same corner table and sat alone. The chair across from her remained empty. She ordered tea and wrapped her hands around the cup, letting the warmth seep in. For a moment, she closed her eyes. She saw Daniel's steady smile, Raj's hopeful grin, two versions of love she'd tried to keep alive by feeding them lies. The truth, she realized, wasn't that she'd loved them both too much. It was that she'd loved control more. Control over outcomes, over feelings, over consequences. A server approached. Are you waiting for someone? Maya shook her head. No. The word felt strange. Final. Honest. She sat there until the tea went cold, listening to conversations that had nothing to do with her. When she finally stood to leave, she glanced once more at the empty chair. There was no anger now, no longing, just acceptance. Outside, the city moved on as it always had. Cars passed, people laughed. Lives continued without her at the center of them. Maya walked away, lighter and lonelier, carrying nothing but the lesson she'd paid for in full. If you lie long enough, even love forgets your name.